We are live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Triple Crowned Industrial Chat. We are here with Mr. Paul Long, Facebook extraordinaire, Mr. Jerry Lyons, the content king and the community content king, and myself with the best hair in all of a state agency, like spun silk. How we doing, gentlemen? You all right?
We were saying we're cold.
Cold, yeah, we're cold.
You're gonna be up north. It's t-shirt weather up here.
No, what's going on? Gas prices must be a lot lower up north.
Gas, what's that? We're still on coal. Good. What have we been up to then? What have you been up to then, Paul?
So busy, which is really good. I've been playing around with a lot of AI tools and chat bots and probably things that you're looking at now quite often on a regular basis. So that's my fun part for me, looking at all the new tools that are out there and getting ready for a webinar on Wednesday. That's my my webinar.
Good. What about you, Jezza?
Ticking over, working on a new guide. So that's been most of our last couple of weeks. Our new team member settled in well. I didn't realise how long it takes to settle in a new team member properly. Do you know what I mean? And I think we have done it properly because we put a lot of time into her, and she's turned out really well.
Yeah.
But in the past, we've just gone, here you go, bosh, and things haven't worked out so well. So yeah, that's probably taken up most of our time, but it's been worth it. Yeah.
Good. I don't know if you saw on social media, I had an issue with a Rottweiler dog.
Was it a Rottweiler, yeah?
Yeah, it was a Rottweiler. Yeah. Look, so sad. So I'm not sure what I can say, what I can't say. So I had a tenant, lovely guy, only late 20s, came up from Ireland. Just a really nice guy, met him, moved him in, met his parents. His parents have been over here quite a while, like maybe 10 years. He had alcohol problems, but he was on the back end of it. He's in my house 6 weeks, and he unfortunately got in with the wrong crowd, and it looks as though he's overdosed. So he's died on Friday, and he was found on the Sunday. And unfortunately, well, that's really, really sad because he's such a young guy. But his dog was in the cage for 2 days.
Wow.
So obviously, I don't know whereabouts in location they were to each other, but still, it's not great, is it? So the dog, who's an 18-month-old kind of support dog, he walked it. He was well known for walking it like 5, 6, 7 times a day, going to the beach and stuff. It was left in the house for 2 days. So the police came in when the family member found him, let the dog out. But there's nobody for him. And it was one of those times where the dog fell in terms of, I've got Luna. She's a little cockapoo, which is, you'd never think the size of me with a cockapoo and a pink harness and a pink lead. But anyway, here's what it is. So I'm a dog lover, but it was just really weird. It was like, it fell through the gaps in terms of who could help. So kennels, I didn't realize how full they are, like ridiculous. But I put a post on Facebook. It was probably, I don't know, hundreds of people commented or liked it. It was amazing. And I'll tell you the tale about who helped, and it'll blow your mind. It will absolutely blow your mind, the power of social media. But the one that we were hoping for was a company called Stray Aid, who's got the contract for stray dogs, and the council wardens, like Durham County Council. But because the dog was in a house, it didn't qualify for anything. The dog wardens only take stray dogs, and Stray Aid only is funded to take stray dogs. It's technically not a stray, even though it's in the house. It would have died. Like, there was literally nobody. We were chucking bloody food through the letterbox for it. So it was, it was terrible. Anyway, they got lots of really good feedback. The amount of messages, I must have had like 15, 20 messages. Have you tried this one? Have you tried that one? And it was much the same, me repeating, yes, they can't help. Yes, they can't help. Yes, they can't help. But a chap I knew from a Facebook, a forum called Property Tribes that I used to go on about a decade ago. Nick, he's a lovely guy. He helped set it up. Anyway, he went to the Ukraine when the war started to help feed the animals, just a volunteer. met a chap over there, a British guy, who was I believe he was I don't know if he was a soldier fighting in the war or he's a Newcastle lad. Very, very sadly, he passed away during the conflict. But his sister has an association kennel, whatever you want to call it, up in the northeast of England. So Nick saw me post that, contacted this lady, Amy, who then contacted me, and we managed to get the dog picked up last night.
Wow.
And she's friend requested us, and I can see on her profile she's like, "Oh, I've got this 18-month-old puppy," and he was a little bit snappy because he's just been locked in a cage for 2 days.
Trauma. Yeah.
I mean, for you dog lovers, if you're a cat person, this story means absolutely sweet F all. But for you people who've got dogs or you like to hear a happy ending, it's pretty nice actually.
It really shows though because I've sort of come off social media to a point because I just find it all just a bit nonsensical and just but that is good social media. That story you did there is just fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, I've got
a relatively happy ending.
Oh, it was, and there was a couple of people that tagged us and stuff, and they were sharing stuff. They were saying, "Oh, I've got an 18-month-old Rottweiler." Peter must have been like a Marvel superhero because he's called it Ragnar, so which I thought was quite good. So Ragnar, at least Ragnar's got like a nice home. The temporary house it, but
Yeah.
she says they vet the people who come to take the dogs twice as much as any person who ever vet a dog, because you can actually teach and coach a dog with good coaching and teaching, and like a not very nice person's not going to change the ways. So that's why it's important to look outwards as much, which I thought was lovely to hear that. But yeah, I must have phoned 25, 30 kennels just sitting in my car, just scrolling and stuff. I was phoning the same people like 2 or 3 times because I didn't realise I'd actually spotted them.
Forgive my ignorance. As a landlord, is that your responsibility then, the dog, because it's on your property? Or were you just doing it just to do the right thing, sort of thing?
I think, I didn't know if it was or not, but I was doing it just to do the right thing. I mean, look, let's be honest. I could just go and let the dog out and it could roam the streets, but that's a pretty terrible, cowardly, shitty thing to do. And it was just, you know, it was like looking up in the bedroom window. So that when the police went in and unfortunately found Peter, they let the dog out because he was very, very distressed. Literally, he's quite a big dog and the cage is relatively small. So he's locked up he was a bit growly, a little bit grouchy, but he was just looking at out the top bedroom window, and it's a straight house. So as you're going up and down, and he's just looking at you like that. Like Gemma, my wife, kept saying, "You're just a big softy at heart." I was like, "Shh, don't tell anyone."
You didn't fancy another dog then?
Do you know, it did cross my mind for a little bit, but my little Luna, and like I've got a young family and stuff, and it just wouldn't have been feasible. Yeah.
See, whatever we say, Paul, is not going to be as good as that story. I'm telling you. He's absolutely done us with the bio of that story. Right, folks. So, thanks for joining us.
It's a one-off thing, though, isn't it? It's a one-off. At least, like you say, mate, it's social media is often just not a nice place to be. Like people arguing over stuff, but this is the one time where you doff your cap and say, you know, good people came together and got a nice ending for everyone.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right then, Paul, over to you. Follow that.
Yeah. I'm afraid mine hasn't got a story like that. So yeah, we've got to go from dogs to AI, which I really don't know how I'm going to do that one. But so one thing I wanted to let everyone know about, which keep an eye about, is AI and Meta. So Meta this week's launched their equivalent to ChatGPT. To take on
Meta being Facebook for most people.
Yeah. So Meta, obviously Facebook. Obviously they own Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and they've just brought out their pretty much their chatbot version for the public, which has been rolled out. I think it's in America at the moment, but you're going to start seeing the sort of the Meta AI assistant show up on WhatsApp, Instagram, and in Facebook. And the early signs of it does look like it's as powerful, if not will be more powerful than ChatGPT. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a competition there where they keep rolling out their new versions, but it's going to have its own web based as well website where you can go like ChatGPT and chat with it. You're going to see it in Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, which is the big advantage for Meta when rolling out things like this. They have that advantage where they can really force it in front of people, where obviously ChatGPT relies on word of mouth more than anything when the public's involved. And then they're also rolling out, which won't mean a lot to a lot of people, but probably John will hear about it. They've got their Llama 3, which is sort of an open version, which will allow people to use that as well, developers to use that. So yeah, watch this space. You're going to see that really take off soon. It'd be interesting.
What's the thinking behind that though? You know, like on WhatsApp, is it like, I can't be asked to message my mate, I'm going to tell ChatGPT to do a message for him or something? Or
will be interesting. I think it's just going to be that sort of search facility or ask a question facility always there to start with. So if you think about it, I think what they want to do is have a platform where people just don't leave because everything's there for them. So if you're having a conversation with someone and a question comes up and you want to find out a bit of information before actually talking back or going talking about it further, you'd be able to search the answers there. I did see that the actual chat AI and also the Meta chat platform is going to actually connect to Bing and Google and pull in live results into the chat. So a little bit different to ChatGPT, where it goes off and browses and might bring some information back. Now, what it will do is it'll bring you results just like Google, but it'll show it in the
so Google and Bing are going to work with Meta to do this?
Yeah, well, it looks like they have, because what I've seen, they're showing live results in the Meta chat. So it does look like they've done something there. I think there's a lot of crossover, and John probably knows a bit. There's probably crossover, isn't there, between a few of them? I imagine.
Do you know what you said there? I'm going to Google it while you guys are talking. I find that unusual with Meta, because I'm sure Meta is the largest investor in ChatGPT. Yeah,
no, so it's all there, been rolled out. So they've got the data as well. You know, when you think about it, as well as the AI data, they've also got obviously that data which they say they're not going to use, but which involves all of us and everything we're doing. But yeah, that's been rolled out. As I say, it's been rolled out in America already, and it's going to hit other countries very soon. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see.
Interesting. Talking of data, and I'll just say this just before we hand over to JP's bit about, because he's going to share some interesting data with us. I was listening to a football podcast, right? And one of Brighton Hove Albion's best ever signings, probably value for money, is a guy called Christian Gross. Now, he was playing in the Bundesliga in Germany, I think 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And scouts didn't fancy him. They just didn't fancy him for whatever reason. And you can see why when you watch him on the pitch. On the eye, he's a bit slow, gets stuff done. But his data was so impressive, like, you know, in terms of goals assisted and other things like passes. So they broke the data down. And off the back of that, they went and spent a couple of million, whatever it was. It was cheap for a Premier League player who's played as well as him. And it's turned out to be like massive value for money. So, you know, like this world, we're living in a data world. I know a few people have been banging on about it for ages. But that's just one example before we talk about the sort of data set that you've come across, JP.
Do you know what? It's interesting you say that. So I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to this stuff, as you guys know, but I love my sport as well. And you look at the film Moneyball, which is built on the true story. Yeah. And they looked at the data, and where everybody was passing up on the likes of this Christian Gross, they didn't, because people were looking at the wrong data. And if anybody loves their American sports, like look at the NFL Combine, where it's bench press, jumps, 40-yard dash, that doesn't necessarily tell you a lot to do. And there's a lot of modern way of thinking, especially around strength and conditioning. That's not a good indicator into how good a football player you're going to be. One of the best quarterbacks ever, and I'm forgetting his name. He was that good. He played
Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady. That's it.
Yeah.
It was something like 196th in the draft. He nearly went undrafted. Because his data, his metrics was absolutely terrible. Probably the best quarterback ever to play the game. So yeah, it's all about measuring, but just make sure you're measuring the right stuff, because there's two. When I had my agency, I never used to measure viewings. I know it sounds really weird. It's like, why wouldn't you measure viewings? And it was like, well, if we priced it right and we qualified the tenant or the applicant correctly, then we shouldn't have many viewings. We should have it, 2 or 3 people should then go to buy it. But people are like, no, let's get loads of viewings. Why? It's inefficient. If we get loads of people to look at it and we've qualified them well and we know their buying position and et cetera, and it's priced correctly, then we don't need 10, 15 viewings. We need 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
A lot of people used to disagree with you on that, and they were clearly wrong.
Just a point of clarification: it was Pascal gross, not Christian gross.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
It's just sorry, Pascal. I know you. I know you watch the show. He's a rascal. Yeah. So, JP, in the notes for our preparation, you said you got some interesting data or insights from 30,000 prospecting calls.
Yeah.
Estate agency prospecting calls.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of calls made through our system because we've just gone live. We've still got a couple of the longer betas on, but as people are converting the clients. So we're gathering all this data. So and by the way, that 30,000 calls is only in the first couple of months of this year.
Wow.
So we've got some good data. I've spoke about it before, but we've got a lot more precise. So more calls are made when the entire team calls out rather than a single business development person. So a lot of people, and we have been dealing with a lot of agents who've got like, we've got Jerry, he's our business development guy. There's an absolute massive tail off towards the end of the day and a massive tail off towards the end of the week, which you'd understand. 98% of agents make fewer calls on a Friday.
Wow.
98. Wow.
98%. So guess what I would be doing? Calling on a Friday.
100%. Yeah, defo.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think the conversations would be better on a Friday as well.
Well, here's the interesting thing. There was no fall off from the people, because people say, well, there's a reason why they're not answering. The agents aren't calling. Possibly, but we also measured pro rata the people who called on a Friday. What was their success rate? And it was slightly better. And the answer rates got slightly better as well.
Wow. You could create a really interesting marketing report based on the data.
Yeah, it's in hand. We need a bit more data, but you're right. So we're going to do that and publish it.
It's almost like there's been a recent survey called State of the Nation or something like that.
Yes.
Is it Simon?
Simon, the little guy. Yeah, Simon led. Yeah.
I've not read it, but I've heard it's pretty interesting.
I've read it. Yeah, he knows his onions.
Yeah, he's good. But what you could do there is fascinating, because you're often asked, and you'll be asked this, Paul, what's the perfect time to post a piece of content?
Yeah.
What's the perfect time to do a prospecting call? Do you know what I mean? It's yeah.
And it's different for every. Often it can be very different for every person. What I'm saying is, with the data that John's creating, it could be actually zoned in to each agent, couldn't it, at some point? Because it will be different.
If you think about it, we can zone in on branches. So are you single branch or multi-branch? We can go location. Here's one for you. Most calls are made on a morning between 10:30 and 11:30. But the most successful time of day is between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m.
Most successful?
Yeah.
How are you defining success, though?
Get business off the back of it. Like a progressive call, such as, hi, Jerry, it's John, Prospect of Pro Sales and Lettings. Oh, great. It's not you telling me, no, I'm not interested. You saying, look, it's either a success is, yes, you can have my business, come out and value my house, or can we have a follow-up date in the future? Because if they weren't interested, I'd progress. If they weren't interested, they wouldn't give a follow-up date. If they're interested, it's I'm ready, but not yet. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's classed as success. So what we did, and we changed the system actually, and it's going live this week or next week. We had calls made, calls answered, success. So the way we measure success was, did we get that bit of business? Well, as we all know, it's not binary, it's not absolute. What you want to be able to say is, Well, did we get the business? Yes or no? Was it progressed? Was it like call back later when I'm ready? Well, yeah. Well, therefore, that's a progressive, quite a successful call.
Yeah.
Another one is you wouldn't think this. Doing a little bit on a daily basis is 3 times more successful as doing a full day once a week.
Prospecting.
Yeah, prospecting 3 times, 2.8.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of agents do, isn't it? They do the once a week prospecting.
There's a load, mate. Like, you know, some big, well-known agents and stuff, and they do it. And I know why they do it. I get it. And we've spoken to a few of them. It's like, well, if we're all doing it at one time, then we know everybody's doing it. But, you know, it's just not effective. It's like 2.8 times more effective just doing like an hour every day, and you get your whole team to do it.
Imagine that 2.8 over a course of a year.
Oh,
like, you know, the compound, what is it? Compound effect.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, well, the other thing tied into that is getting hold of someone, because everyone's available at different times, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I saw some data on that in America, and it was frightening. It was something like the average, it was like 14 attempts or something stupid, like double figures to get hold of someone. Yeah, it can be up to that double figures, and it was frightening. So calling it different times, you can see why that would help.
Yeah, and I think the point is, unless you've got a real good bit of kit, you can't, or you're really into your data, you don't know when is the best time, because you just phone when you've got, like, there's one company that's looking to come on board, and what they currently do is they fit prospecting around everything else, like literally going to the toilet. Like it's mental how little prospecting they don't do. And, you know, we were talking to it's a single branch, talking to the MD, who's also like the valuer. And we were explaining it, and he said, we don't have time. And if one person's off, it kind of throws everything out of kilter. And I went,
yeah.
And what we said is, you will absolutely fundamentally regret in 6 months' time, when you haven't got enough business, not doing the work today. You will fundamentally, you'll be absolutely devastated with yourself, and you'll want to take back time, but you can't. And you'll be like, all right, well, that even if you've got like a small team of 4 or 5 people, and one of them's off, get one person prospecting an hour a day and get the other 2 picking up the slack of that person. But to have no one prospect until that person comes back off holiday or sick or whatever, it's just not great.
And the thing, that is a problem that starts today, but you feel the pain further down the line, 3 months, 6 months. Yeah, in any business, any walk of business.
And it's too late then, mate, isn't it? It's too late. You can't go, all right, well, I'll start today, because you've got to wait another 3 or 4 months until you feel the benefit of that.
You know what was a great example of that? Well, not a great example, but the market sort of looked after the lazy ones. Remember in lockdown, some people went, that's it, I'm not really going to do anything until we reopen.
Yeah.
And it said, and then we're all on the level playing field. We're all at the same start line. It wasn't, because the ones that were busy and active during lockdown and pumping out content and being involved with the community, they had a head start. So when we did open up again, they were ahead. And it's the same like you're saying there. If you're not prospecting now, it's going to come and bite you on the arse a little bit down the road. Do you know what I mean?
So there's a couple of agents who are like mental busy and they don't have time, and I get it. I just think in any business, lead generation needs to be the main thing, and then everything else fits around it. And that's in any business.
I'm always reminded of what you said there about, you know, people say, we're too busy to prospect, we don't need to prospect. Woolworths never advertised until it was too late.
Really?
Well, they just didn't adapt, or they didn't have an advertising sort of ethos. They were a bit like, we're Woolworths. We've got front high street shops. Everyone knows Woolworths. Until internet come along, supermarkets come along, and it was bye Woolworths. You pick and mix of shit.
Yeah. There's a phrase. Have you heard that phrase when you're surprised, you go, well, I'll show my arse in Woolies window. That's what we say.
I don't know what he's like. Where I was from, it was he's got more front than Woolworths.
Oh, right.
What
you were just saying there, I think it is always, isn't it? It's the first thing that's easily knocked is prospecting, and I get it actually. You know, from coming from a family business, your staffing levels are never right, and also when you're busiest, you know that there's going to be people off on holidays or someone's pregnant. Don't get me in trouble. There's always something, and then that's always the first thing to get knocked. But it is so important. You know, one example at the moment that we're seeing is with landlords. I reckon about 70-80% of our business is now coming from recommendations, referral, and repeat business, not just new business just coming to us because they've seen our advert. It really is recommendations or talking to our landlords and finding out who's got other business at the moment.
Yeah.
So that one, landlords.
Do you know what's interesting that though? And what I say to my coaching clients is, if you are getting 80, 60, 50% of your business through referrals, just imagine how much business you could get if you had a solid prospecting plan. Mm-hmm. So a lot of, I'm not saying you say this, but it's a case of, well, if you're doing such a bloody good job, you're getting people just walking through the door because of your reputation. Just imagine the people who didn't know your reputation, who you're trying to get in front of.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say, other than Michelle Gallagher, I don't know a single agent who can say they've got too much business. Because she's always just busy. She's great. But I think if we can get a prospecting plan in place, a marketing strategy today, it never pays up. I mean, like Chris Watkins says, like you'll get a few like quick wins where you send your leaflets out with your newsletters and your guides that Jerry sends out. You'll get a couple that go, oh yeah, I've heard of you, and they'll come on straight away. But in the main, it takes many, many months to get people on.
Yeah. I agree. And the other thing is, we're all businesses which are generating lots of data. So we've actually got the people there to speak to and prospect to, haven't we? In most cases, most of the businesses have. So yeah.
Well, surely a lot of the value in your Prospector Pro, JP, from an entrepreneurial point of view, will be that data.
Sorry, say that again, mate?
Like the value for your Prospector Pro will be that data eventually, because it's
100%
snowball effect. And you go, well, hold on, well, we can almost predict how it will go. I'd have thought eventually.
Well, you're absolutely right. So we just released something called User Insights, which is effectively like multi-branch, say Lyons, sales and lettings. So you can drop down box. You've got a 5-branch agency. You click the branches you want. It automatically selects the team members that are associated with each branch. And the data that can give, from the number of calls made to answer to success to progressed to viewings booked, all in like a very dead easy to read chart. You can take people on and off, compare branch versus branch, but also to start to give you things like average call duration. You can then start to book trends of like how many calls over 5 minutes are a success compared to calls below 5 minutes. You can almost start to come up with the perfect call.
Yeah, it would make sense with all the data, because you'll go, right, that's that length of call at that time of day, and all these little data points resulted in success. So let's replicate that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you can do it on an individual basis. So like you're in the south, Paul's in London, I'm in the north.
He's not in London. He's in the suburbs.
Oh well, London. He speaks like everyone else down there. But you can almost start to do that per area, geographical area, so it can be very specific. And as we said at the beginning, you can then break it down. But the data is, I think I'm doing a presentation for an event I'm speaking at on Thursday, and we talk about businesses, 90% data, 10% science, 90% mathematics, 10% science. The data presents much more than you think it does.
Right. That's what I was just thinking. There's so many possibilities. It's frightening. The one thing I was thinking about, because some of your calls will get, is it all of them get pulled into the systems? Do they? Yeah. But I imagine there must be the ability there to sort of have a score based on positive words from the caller to then perhaps put them in some sort of order of who's more eager to buy, if that makes sense. I'm sure that's something that might be possible.
It is possible. So one thing we've just agreed last week is a weighting system for every call. So based on quite a lot of criteria, we've done a lot of research over this. We're going to score each call out of 100. So there's things like, in fact, if you want, I'll talk you through some of it, because it is really, really interesting about what we can start to bring up and stuff. So for example, I'll bring it up. So you've got the overall score. You can work out so here you go. So if you score every single call, right, you can work out very, very quickly, do users perform better on certain days?
Right.
So you think about it. So say it's scored out of 100. So the first thing, let's talk about like as a training tool. What we'll be able to do is say, right, any score below 50, I want to be notified. So the manager gets to notify. So rather than listen, I've made 50 calls, right, today. So rather than you, Jerry, as my gaffer, want to listen to 50, there's 4 calls that are surfaced to you, each 2.5 minutes long. So instead of like spot checking them, you're getting to the shit calls on day one.
Right, yeah.
And then say, I want to know 80 and above, because then you might want to say, pat on the back, John, that type of thing. But the system, when we build it, because it's yet to be built, we'll be able to detect, is there a trend on, is it a Mondays? Is it because I'm a drunk on a Sunday? Is it because I'm not getting sleep because I'm arguing? So you can start to work out that. So we can work out things like, is the call a positive one, like because of the sentiment, words, tones, expressions, that's thing. Positive feedback, agreement of, or affirmation, and expression of gratitude. So those are what you call a positive sentiment. So it's scored well on that, like you get plus 20 or plus 30 or plus 40 points. You've then got a negative sentiment, which is, was there any concerns raised, frustrations or complaints, or expressions of disinterest? So you get slightly less, like 5% to 6%. And then you've got negative, that's the negative. And then you've got neutral, which is a neutral statement, somebody just information gathering, acknowledgement of information. So there's about 10, 15, 20 little things breaking down. They're just the big headline sort of things. But you can come up with a score for the call of how well it.
I thought of another strapline for your company.
Go on then.
Separating the dossers from the diamonds.
I thought you were going to say the dossers from the tossers.
Because it's no hiding place for dossers. It's not, you know what I mean? They're going to know. It's going to be, how many calls you made today? Oh, I've done 10. Well, no, you haven't, because do you know what I mean? It's so interesting. It's interesting, man. It's interesting.
And then you've got to get into where Paul was talking about was, can you extract information out of that from a buyer's point of view? So we don't want to get into Cambridge Analytica like ways, but can you start to say, put in the notes section and highlighted, the gentleman's big on detail, or the lady's very fluffy around XYZ, or don't mention this or don't mention that. So, we don't know yet. I imagine.
What, like communication styles, yeah? Well, you know who does that? Spencer Lawrence, Paramount Properties. They but they do it anecdotally, so they'll know if a landlord likes to be direct. They've got somebody in the team who's better at doing the direct kind of communication than the fluffy one. They're, oh, how's your day gone? Blah blah blah. So they put certain people, allocate them certain landlords based on the communication style.
Well, our system, would be able to do that automatically and accurately. Not saying that they're not accurate at all, but and especially when you get to a larger business, a multi-branch, 20, 30, 40 staff, that might not be possible. But if the system can do it automatically and kind of...
That's what I mean, the system highlights communication style, then you go, oh, you know what? We've done one of those disc profiling things, and we know that Susie is a red, this guy's a red, or whatever they do it. Put them together or not together, as the case may be. Do you know what I mean? So it's fascinating.
Yeah. It is good. It is clever. I mean, the AI stuff, Paul, it's going to another level on a daily basis, isn't it?
It is. And to be honest, you think really the public have only seen things over the last sort of year, and it's just moving so quickly. I saw something yesterday, Sora, which is OpenAI's prompt to video. You literally just say, create me a video of someone drinking at a bar. Boom, does it, everything. It's just frightening how quick. And then that's just one side of it.
I mean, I'm increasingly convinced though that there'll be a backlash to a degree against certain things where it's costing a lot of people jobs, and you will start seeing companies say this was produced by a team of humans in the whole. Or this was written by a human, or this was, do you know what I mean? But no, it's crazy. It's crazy out there.
I kind of agree with you, and I do agree, full stop, right? So that is going to happen. The one thing I would say is that you just think of the times in history where that's happened, like, got rid of the horse and the cars, the combustion engine, the microchip, all those things that like kind of like displace jobs, so long as we do it in an ethical way where. And I don't know how it's not going to be a catch-all situation where we put those people into other jobs. But it's a hard one. It's progress. It's going to happen. It's just how do we like navigate it without people losing their jobs?
I think, and I think you've just got to get involved with it. You know, there's no point hiding from it and thinking, oh, it'll go away, and I don't agree with it. It's like social media when estate agents were told you've got to get involved with social media. No one wanted to do it and said, no, I don't need to. But now everyone does social media. You just got to make sure you're involved with it early on.
And even if you're not involved, if it's not your thing, get somebody to do it for you.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Like we've got like our VAs doing the social media type stuff and looking in. And we've got a guy who we retain for the network who's an AI guy. Vikram.
Yeah.
So we pay him a retainer and he just chips in, and it's his job to tell us about the trends and all this sort of stuff.
That's it. Yeah. I saw one more stat, really interesting one, was that Microsoft came out in the last couple of weeks and said that organizations embracing AI are already outperforming competition who aren't by 12% already.
Jesus.
Makes sense.
So they've done their research on this. So, and AI is very new, available to businesses. So think about if you're not using AI in a couple of years' time, that 12% could be 20%. And that's then starting to get into big.
It's like you say about social media. It's a bit like, when websites come out, people go, I don't need a website. I don't need a website. It's the same. You need AI. You need to get on board.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're screwed.
Get on board or you're going to get swallowed up. Gentlemen, I think we've gone over our time limit.
We have.
So much fun.
It was great to see you all, as always. And we'll see you next time on the Triple Crown Industry Chat.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you.